Yes.
Maybe we ought to reach out to Elizabeth PD and see if this is something that they'd be interested in too.
I can try.
It'd be, I mean, in terms of logistics and everything else, it's very similar. In terms of the population difference, it's very similar. So I guess that was something, after I got done talking to that guy, I'm like, I'm gonna take this and throw it out there that maybe this is something. Cause I'll tell you, there's three things that are out of control in this town. And the truck traffic coming in on Kiowa Bennett, the truck and car traffic going east and west through this town, and the school zone. And I guess there's a fourth one. I'm trying to locate a concrete planter box, and I'm gonna put it on Ute Avenue by the stop sign, cause there's no way that that is a double turn. And we have another accident at that intersection, cause they're trying to create it to be a double turn. We need to do something to kind of deter that. So I actually reached out to get a 4 foot by 4 foot precast planter box, but right there to try to discourage the use of it. That's what I got.
That's good points, Trevor. You hit them all four on the head. We could borrow one of those big rocks down there by, that business down the hill and stick in that lane. Anybody else have anything? Ruth, you have anything?
You're muted.
Not right now.
Really?
Our last comp plan open house will in person will be on the 27th at 5:30 at the fairgrounds. So as much participation in that as possible is greatly needed, so that they can really gain a good picture of
It's
where
hard for I can hardly hear you, Kim. I can hear everyone else but you.
they need as much participation as possible, so that they can gain a full picture of what this community is looking for future wise. I learned a lot going through the schools process and master planning process, that what the people sit at that table want is not necessarily what this community is looking for. And that was a big eye opener, because you think you have a thumb on what the community is looking at and what they want, and you really don't. You're focusing on what really you want. And that's not what we set the steers for. We serve a community. So they're asking for as much participation as possible. So if you guys can get the word out there, county is sharing it on their social media and on our website. We've got it on our website and our social media. But a lot's going to be word of mouth participation. So we need your help. And then they're going to do a final virtual meeting. And really what that'll be is not so much community participation and offering what they want. We're looking for that more in person, but this is going to be an overall presentation of the entire project. And then municipal court. We have secured a municipal court judge from Elizabeth. This will be Judge Joaquin, and a town and a court clerk. So right now we're looking at possibly starting in March. We need to make sure that our group is absolutely up to date with regard to everything that the judge needs to conduct it in efficient court. It's not going to be clear in my this for photos. We're still trying to find a prosecutor when one is needed. A prosecutor is not going to be there for every single court case. Sometimes this is just going to maybe be one or two that takes 15 minutes and we're done. I don't say we say we. They don't want to create an environment that is overbearing or intimidating, and they feel that having a prosecutor there will create that kind of environment in our town, and especially when there's not a need for one every single hearing. They will need one in 3 particular instances, and those are very serious cases that we hopefully will never find ourselves needing a judge for our trial. So everything else should be easy peasy according to them. So
you say they need just like
I'm talking about the judge.
code enforcement that they are suggesting.
Yeah, so I was in communication with one prosecutor, and they wanted to be completely involved in every single thing and charge an outrageous amount. I mean, more than the clerk and the judge together. And like, if I have a judge telling me that you're not needed at every single hearing, every single instance does not require a prosecutor sitting in the chair or file. A motion's not going to have to be filed in every single one by a prosecutor. Susie and Ruth can converse, and they can create the motions if they need motions, and they can file motions themselves. It doesn't have to be a prosecutor. So there's no sense in expending that kind of cost for something that we don't need. So we're still looking for a prosecutor. Yes, ma'am.
You said that possibly doing this starting March.
Possibly start in March and every other month.
Are we gonna have our code in place by that point.
Ruth's reviewing it. We shouldn't have any real changes to it. All she's reviewing is what the judge is going to be, looking at as code violations, what Susie's already in trying to enforce. He just wants
Okay.
to make sure the language is absolutely solid.
Have we established fees though yet?
No, we're working on
Okay.
that as well, so we'll
Gotcha.
probably bring a fee schedule too, and really talking to Susie this week, the likelihood of starting in March is not solid.
Okay,
Because there's things we have to consider and, motions, they have to drop all these motions custom to our town.
sure.
And Susie's has to get a violation book, that allows her to, write them into a court that she doesn't have right now.
Okay,
So there's a lot of things that still have to be put in place.
okay.
They're being proactive and saying that maybe we could start in March, but that's still on the table.
Now, what about
Thank you.
court clerks?
We do have a clerk, secured. So we have a
Okay, we
court
do.
clerk and a judge.
Okay.
The only thing that we're working with is a prosecutor, and the judge and Susie both suggested that that could be something that we don't need to actively search for until we need one. Those are very extenuating circumstances where a prosecutor would need to be brought in.
Since we haven't had this before or anytime recently, is there any need to like inform the public, like, hey, just so you know, this is what's gonna be put in place from here on out?
No, because they've already been, this is why we're putting it in place, is because they've been threatened with it and threatened with it.
And nothing.
And they've become complacent to it because, it's like, you can threaten so many times and then they're like, no, you're not gonna do anything. And
Right.
that's really the only circumstances we have. And there's really only 4 or 5 of them right now.
Mhm.
So we're not, and that's what I tried to explain to that prosecutor. And his stance is, he's very young, and his stance is, once the word gets out, you're gonna have a whole bunch of cases. Well, the judge has done this for 44 years, and the code enforcement person who's done this for over 40 years. Once they start seeing that, no, we mean business now, there is gonna be a court put in place, and you are gonna have to answer for it, and there may be fines, then they're gonna fall in line more so than wanna go out and violate, more. It just didn't make sense. His reasoning didn't make sense, so.
I think that, I like what Eric said in his meeting, that we should inform the community of the direction we're moving.
Oh, we
I mean,
definitely can,
I
yeah.
mean, just like, go write Bailey a ticket and charge her $1,000 just because.
Not my.
I
Well,
mean, you know what I mean?
I do.
So if they know that we're moving that way, then maybe we'll never have to have court because they'll start cleaning up their crap and moving their junk
Absolutely.
cars and.
And just so
doing
you're
that.
aware how this court would end up working, it is not one of those circumstances where, okay, you violated, this is your fee or your fine, and they're gonna have to pay it. What is gonna end up happening is they're gonna get a violation. And the violation will state what that fine would be for that violation. They're gonna end up in front of that judge if that's how they choose to handle that, and that judge will defer that fine. He's gonna defer that fine and put back over on them. Your fine is $1,000. I'm gonna defer it. If you do what you're supposed to do within the next 30 days and come back and prove to me you've done it in the next 30 days, then you don't have to pay anything. So it's not gonna be an automatic fee and people paying immediately.
Well, it's always good to be open to the community and let them know what we're thinking about.
And I
So,
think when we inform them, it needs to be a list of court costs are going to be.
And that's what the fee schedule, we have to have that. He
Yeah,
cannot
I think it
conduct
should all
court
go
without
out
it.
at once.
Yeah, he cannot conduct court without that, and he's requiring that, so we have to have that in place before he'll have court. the
I
first
just meant
time.
with informing the public, like I think it should go out as one letter. Hey, this is the way we're moving, just so you're aware.
We
Violations, court costs are minimum.
don't have an address for everybody in this town, and I don't have a mailing list, so we'll put it on the website,
yeah,
and that's
that
the
would
best
be
we can
good.
do.
Yeah, and I mean,
But-
at least at that point, if somebody contacts the town, you can be like, actually, it's here plain as day. And when I talked to Susie about this, she kind of explained to me that it would be like up to a judge's discretion. But us as a board can tell the judge like, hey, this person has been in violation every single time that we've done codes. And this has been ongoing for 5 years. We don't want them to get off with like nothing. Not that we would know like exactly the addresses or anything. But if it's a continuous thing, we can make a suggestion to the judge is the way that she kind of like told.
Well, that wouldn't
me.
be on the part of the board.
Right, yeah.
It would not be on the part of the board, because the board is not involved in operations or enforcement.
That's right.
Right, but she said something along the lines is like, that we can suggest something, like, you know, if they're over, something like that.
So
Does that
Ruth
make
and
sense?
I do, and I think what you're, it's not a foreign subject, I think it's a subject that Ruth and I and Susie have already had already, because we already have some in mind that we know may end up being problems. So those discussions have already been had. There's been lots of discussions with those people. So the point where we're at right now with them is a court situation.
Right,
So there's already a direction I feel that that judge would take, taking those into consideration. Does
okay,
that make sense? Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, and I mean, maybe I got her wrong by saying, is there something that us as a board can suggest to the judge?
No,
Is
there's
that
not.
right?
No.
We
Okay,
can't
so
have
then,
nothing to do with that.
so then we can just have our schedule, like our fee schedule.
So we could approve a fee schedule. I could put a fee schedule together. I would work with Susie on that, and Ruth on that. And you guys could look at that fee schedule and you can approve that fee schedule, but you have no involvement in the court, the enforcement, or any of that.
But as far as like, if we say, like, can we say something as in like, if you have X amount of violations, we would want the judge to say,
No, you cannot give the
No,
judge
I can have
direction. It
nothing
is
to do
strictly
with
on him.
so it's just our fee schedule,
And
and that is
I
it.
think as court coming in as a new thing, I think everybody kind of has to start with a clean slate. I think that's kind of all that's fair.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No, because a lot of
Not
them
when you're
are,
the reason that we're bringing a court.
yeah, there's a,
Just for-
like I said, there's 4 or 5 that are the reason that we're having to institute the court, and they've gotten to such a grievance that we don't have any other way to bring them compliant. And some of them, and so, you know, he's not just looking at code enforcement, weeds or things like that. Like, if you're operating a business and you don't have a business license, he can absolutely get involved in that. If you, you haven't come to the town and saw that you're operating a business on a piece of property that you haven't, done a zoning change to that allows you to operate a business there, judge could get involved in that too. So he gives us a much broader range of enforcement that we didn't necessarily have before, and it's not just Susie completely related. Does that make sense? Okay. I was gonna say something else. I forgot what it was. Since 3:30.
We can
So-
take it back.
Yeah, if I think of it, but that's the gist of it right now. And if you were to get involved in code enforcement, your role in code enforcement solely is as a citizen. So if you have an issue with somebody else in town, code enforcement wise, my suggestion, and Susie's suggestion, and probably Ruth's suggestion too, would be to email Susie, get on the website, use the link that we have to make an anonymous report to Susie, if that's the route you want to go. But anything you do code enforcement wise would have to be as a citizen of this town, not as a board member.
Okay,
Yeah, other than approving the fee schedule.
okay, maybe that's what it was a while ago that I talked to Susie, so maybe that's what I'm thinking of,
Yeah.
but maybe we can cross that when it gets closer.
So that's all I
Anything
have.
else? Public Works,
Nothing other than the blade's finally been picked up. We're done with that blade.
and we hammered code enforcement.
Yeah, I know.
We
It's
got
gone now.
anything else from code enforcement?
No, not till April. She'll have a report.
Okay. Moving on, approval of the minutes from the January 9th, 2024 meeting.
Someone,
We have a motion to approve.
1 second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And that Kimberly. Expenditures year to date. In your packet, hopefully everyone had a chance to peruse through them. Any huge changes in that, Kimberly?
No. I don't know if I sent you guys an email. You have more updated financials than what I sent you on Thursday. I ran it. I put some more checks in there. You had some sales tax hit. So now you have more updated, financials than you had last Thursday.
Okay. I'd entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion?
At any point, are we gonna get Ruth's invoices? I mean, I see legal fees, 3,500, we just.
We did that last, when you weren't here last
Yep,
meeting.
last
I
month.
didn't see it in any of it. I never saw anything on it.
Yeah, I
We're
went,
not, we don't send them out. We have an executive session and everybody reviewed them.
yeah, I went through them, before I signed the check,
As
so
long as that's.
if you wanna,
Yeah, Trevor and, well, the check signers will review those invoices, monthly at those meetings, and I have them initialing them before I pay them.
yeah, we can vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, a motion to, go out of our regular scheduled meeting. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion to open public hearings.
We just need to go out.
Pardon me?
We don't need to do a motion for every single one of them.
Okay,
We're just going in at 7:22.
Okay.
in public hearings. Special event liquor licenses. Jeff Berry benefit. Anybody here for that? Jill? This is Jill Miller, the greatest track coach of ever to adorn the halls. And a business owner and a wonderful person.
Hi, Jill.
Good to see you, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, tell us what you got.
Okay, I have a young man who works for me at the feed store. He's been with me for 3 years. He was driving home one night after work and he was going down 17 and he went, "That's my dad's truck." His dad was in the truck with a broken neck, spinal injury. He's paralyzed from the neck down. So, obviously he's at Craig Hospital right now. We want to help the family, raise funds to renovate the bathroom specifically in the hallway. So his wheelchair can get, we don't have to worry about a ramp. They have a ranch style house and so the lip is about that big. And Craig Hospital said, you don't need to worry about that. You can just lay any kind of rubber mat over it and the wheelchair will, he has a blow and sit wheelchair. At least that's what he's been using down there to get himself around. But, so, I decided that I would organize this and it's a week from Saturday at the exhibit building. We're gonna do a silent auction. Oh, here, sorry. You two can share. Thank you. You two can share. You two can share. And you can have. So at the bottom, it tells you how it's gonna start at 1 o'clock in the exhibit building with silent auction, opening at that point. Understanding not everybody can come to dinner in the live auction, or, if somebody has other things going that night, we still want people to come in and help support him. So you can see the schedule of events. We're gonna have music playing in the background and, I contacted the Kiowa bar and Audrey Hacker, who's their manager, who is tips certified, is going to come and, if you approve, serve alcohol. And Rick knows I don't drink, right? So this is all really foreign to me, but I have been to enough auctions to understand that if people are a little bit warmed up, they'll bid higher. And that's my goal. So Buddy Strawn's gonna be the auctioneer.
Nobody.
Audrey said she's going to, have wristbands so that people will not be served if they're not of age. And I told her because it's all a foreign language to me, I said, do what you normally do. And so she told me she'd have a red wine, a white wine, two beers that are the most popular in Elbert County, and obviously she knows, cause, and then, whatever they call the top row. Top shelf. Top shelf, and top shelf. And, so I'm just asking for permission for that to be allowed. I did all my paperwork. And the county, agreed with that happening. I've already posted the one sign that you gave me over there at the fairgrounds to let people know. And if anybody wants to go to an Avalanche game, assuming that they're gonna get better again, there's 2 tickets. If somebody
Even
donated.
that, it's a fun night.
Okay, any questions? We're gonna make sure that we keep track of the underage, that they're there. With the wristband.
That's the wristband.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. Okay, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion, we have a second?
Wait, we gotta
Oh,
wait.
wait,
till we-
we
wait till we
can't
do
enter
public
those
hearing.
motion.
Public hearing, so you have to allow
Okay.
public comment by law.
My bad.
Second, so we can't do anything.
Okay, thank you, Jill. We'll get after this here when we get done with our public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you, Julie.
Okay, the KPTCC.
Kiowa Parent Teacher Community Club.
Say that 3 times fast.
I know, right?
I did know.
Hello. So we're doing casino night just like they did last year. KPTCC is hosting it. It's a 21 and up, so we won't do wristbands, but we'll, ID everyone at the door. So we'll start right around 5 and we should end, right before midnight. And it's just casino night. I know there was a couple of you that came last year. Did you go? No, you did.
I
She
did.
came to the horseshoe tournament.
I did horseshoe. Yes,
It
so
was fun.
question.
Who's in charge of alcohol?
Me and JR.
You
JR
and
will be
JR.
serving, I will be doing cash. JR is tip certified.
How are we identifying underage?
They're not allowed at the event at all. It's a 21 and up.
And then card at the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they're not 21, they can't come in.
Cool.
That's probably why.
That makes it a lot easier.
So bring your ID.
They don't let you in.
Can't get in.
Yeah, well, doesn't matter, I don't drink anyway, so,
But you can't even get in the door unless you're 21.
okay. And you're gonna do that, the 23rd coming
Yes.
up in March?
Yep. And then horseshoes. Yes, so then we'll do our horseshoe tournament for high school basketball. That'll be July 20th. We'll probably start around noon and end around 11 o'clock. Just like we did last year. That one, kids are allowed. We will have wristbands. They will be ID'd. And again, JR will serve. I will do cash box.
Same two, tips in, what are they, tips?
Tip
Yeah,
certified
Mhm.
through the state.
Are you tip certified?
I'm not.
JR
JR
is.
is. I can't. JR
I
is.
can help, I'm tip certified.
Let's see,
I think
Bailey
that-
will help us. I've got 2 tip certified and I'm just doing cash.
Okay. As long as we're all legal. Okay, so we got horseshoes on the 20th and casino night on the 23rd.
Yes. Fine.
Okey doke. Thank you. Anything else you need to share with us?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right, I'd entertain a motion to go back into our regular scheduled meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Okay, page 2. Yeah, I didn't have anyone sign up on my public comment. So,
Now that we're in a public hearing, or out of public hearing, I'd like to make a motion that we approve all 3 liquor licenses. That we presented to us in public hearing.
I'll second.
okay, we have a motion in 2 seconds.
I heard Terry first, I think.
Any discussion? And Jill, That's a great thing you're doing. And, you know, family's gonna need some help, so. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, you have your licenses. As soon as I sign them. Make sure I get the right one here. That one, this one.
You gotta sign all of them.
Sign all three.
You have to sign all three.
Jill,
Get Jill so she can get home. Here, do you need a copy? Did you make a copy of this?
I will, just a second.
Okay.
Give her just a second.
is this 303-243-17?
772.
Is that a good number to contact you if we have some other donations?
Yes,
Okay.
that's my bill.
Can we
I can
stop?
give you the store number. People can drop off at the store as well.
Okay, whichever's easiest.
Either one. I mean, yeah. It'll find its way to my spare bedroom.
Like mine, goes there.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, can we stop by the feed store and donate?
During hours after. During business hours after.
That number
No, drop off stuff
during hours.
during hours.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is it you if I leave?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have
Really
to
good?
say. No, it's not.
No.
Don't listen to them.
You don't wanna hang out for the rest.
I thought that's what she said.
Yeah.
Kim.
Be careful going home.
This, you want-
Oh, yeah.
Okay. All right, Tammy is going to join our board. And so Kimberly is going to,
Did you just sign me to, she's a clerk.
get the clerk out, and where'd she go?
She's doing other duties for Danielle, so Danielle could go back to her basketball.
Okay, when she gets back, we'll get you out of office.
She's coming. She does make a copy of it real quick. There you go.
Tasha,
Keep it.
Tasha,
Yes.
Did you hire a band?
Tammy, or
Oh, what?
A band for the horse
close the
tournament?
office, please.
Okay.
Make her stand up front and everything.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
They'll
I
have
think
lots.
it's actually three different ones. I think we're gonna
Good.
provide some WWN and, and we just.
Dale's going really down. Thank you, Dale.
All right, come on down, dear.
All right,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, ready? Ready. All right, raise your right hand. I state your name.
Tammy Hart, I, Tammy Hart,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the laws of the state of Colorado,
and the laws of the state of Colorado,
the town of Kiowa Home Rule Charter,
the town of Kiowa Home Rule Charter,
all town ordinances,
all town ordinances,
standards of conduct,
standards of conduct,
and business code of ethics,
and business code of ethics,
and that I will faithfully
and that I will faithfully
and impartially perform and discharge
and impartially perform and discharge
the duties of the office of Board of Trustee
the duties of the office of Board of Trustee
according to the law
according to the law
and the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Thank you.
yay.
I will make a copy of your thing.
Thank you.
Make sure you put her on the front page, John.
Don't think you heard you.
John, front page.
Well, I've told you before, if I make the decisions that newspaper.
There you go.
Was, what newspaper?
Okay, congratulations, Tammy, and welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, new business, ordinance 1, series 2024. An ordinance of the town of Kiowa establishing an amendment to the Kiowa municipal code regarding municipal campaign finance complaints.
Ruth, you
So
want to
this-
speak?
Yeah, this is a public hearing. So we need to open it up for the public to comment. And the purpose of this ordinance is to get us in compliance with campaign finance requirements. And we are permitted to do that in our town code without amending our charter through our ordinances, and that's what we're proposing the town approve this evening. And we can open it up for public comment if anyone has any.
Nobody here.
Yeah, it went out on the agenda. It doesn't need to be public, put in a paper or anything like that.
For public hearing?
It's not a public hearing.
It's
Ruth?
an ordinance, it's a public hearing. It only needs to be posted once it's approved, and we have,
So I think, Ruth, what Trevor is asking is, does Rick need to open it to public hearing for this ordinance to be considered? Because
Yeah,
we just. public hearing.
did that, and remember last month we talked about how we don't need to be closing and opening the meeting the way we've been, that we just open the subject matter as a public hearing. And then it's not necessary to be doing it the way the town's been doing it. It's just an ordinance, it's a public hearing. We ask for comment, and if anyone has any comment, and if it's in fact approved, then we publish the approved ordinance.
Okay, I think what the confusion is that we had a whole agenda line item for public hearing with the special event liquor licenses. And if the ordinance needed to be included in a public hearing, maybe we should have put that underneath the public hearing heading.
Okay,
And-
so the reason I didn't amend it that way is because your liquor licensing authority is also a separate delegated authority that the town has.
Okay, so they're done two separate.
Yeah, and they
Okay.
have to always be separated out.
Okay,
With
I understand that. All right.
And I thought that because this was posted, we were in public hearing and nobody had any comments and it was posted.
Right, and that's what I was clarifying with her, we've been working together, like she said. You guys have been given incorrect information on how to run some of these things that really could be streamlined. There's too many steps and unnecessary motions being made,
Expense
so,
and money being
what?
spent on publication.
yes, and money being spent on publications are unnecessary.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and there's no one here for,
so it's just relearning, you know, all of us are relearning, what should have been done correctly to begin with, and
And although
it's
there-
nobody's fault.
And although there's nobody here for public hearing, do we stop to open it up for the record?
We have to say it on record. Yes.
Record,
Yeah, you just say, no one's present and we're gonna close the public hearing. And then you guys can have deliberation and discussion and then hopefully make a motion to approve.
So we have to have a motion to go in public hearing.
No.
No, we just say there's
Or
nobody
that.
here for public comment, and then you guys can have discussion about it and vote on it.
Okay, well, I don't think in my 30+ years here, and Trevor's, however old Trevor is, we've had any complaints about campaign finance.
No, but sometimes when you put these things in place, it's showing you're being proactive as elected
There you go.
officials,
Yeah.
that you're acknowledge that these are issues for other municipalities, there are issues other places, and that you're taking a stance that this won't be an issue here.
This is one of those deals, if I understand right, we have to have on our books to be in compliance with the state of Colorado. That being said, I'll make the motion to approve ordinance 1/2024.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay, that took care of that, baby. Okay, policy 22056, standards of conduct, BOT code of ethics.
Again, this is one of those things like we just said. We acknowledge that there's issues in other municipalities. We read about them every day. This is making it clear that we are committed to giving the best governance that we can to our municipality. And that we're abiding by a set of guidelines and gives you guidance as elected officials and appointed officials. This isn't just for your board. You're putting this in place for the planning commission. You're putting this in place for our event planning committee. Anybody that is involved in this town in some form or fashion that makes decisions within this municipality.
Not only that, it's for any board after us.
Absolutely.
Right, sure, yep.
So should there be a signature page?
Not for policies. It needs to be voted in as a policy and added to the policy and procedure manual. It's not a resolution or ordinance that requires a signature. But it does require a vote from you all to put it in place. Likewise, if we find a need in the years to come to change some of the verbiage in it or anything that it has to come back to the table for another vote for revision.
Amended.
Motion to approve standards of conduct number 22-056, effective.
Can I just talk for a moment about this? I don't know if everyone's had an opportunity to review this memo, but it's one of the best examples I've seen laying out what your standards of conduct are, things that you need to consider, which specifically is on page 1. And then on page 2 about conflicts of interest, I think they do a good job of explaining, you know, what we kind of experienced, for example, with Kiowa Creek Meadows and where those conflict of interests become so important, and then times where it really doesn't matter. And then also on page 3 about confidential information, town operations, communications, how we communicate with the public and with staff and amongst yourselves as the Board of Trustees. And, you know, lastly, disciplinary actions for removal, which I think we're going to begin to talk about later this evening. But so it's a good summary, and I urge you guys to please take the time to review it and maybe even keep it handy. I mean, we'll always have it, but I just think it's really helpful. I know that you're taking the course, I think it's offered by CIRSA or CML, I'm not sure which one, that also outlines your roles and responsibilities, but just thought this might be helpful. Because sometimes I feel like the bad guy, you know, so this might be helpful.
Okay, we do have a motion and a second to approve the standards of conduct. Policy 22056. Any more discussion?
Trevor gave it first and Jonathan gave a second.
Yeah. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Good thing to peruse through if you haven't.
We did earlier today.
Yeah. Okay, old business.
And, oh,
Wait,
Director Howard has her hand raised.
say it louder.
Director Howard has her hand raised.
me,
What?
Smack him
I have
next.
some old business here. We discussed the equipment that Josh had looked into.
We did.
And did we table that to this meeting, or
Well, we
did
tabled
we
it.
say?
So I think it's, if you want, you guys want to open that up and discuss that a little bit. we can.
Yeah, cause I got kicked out of that last Zoom meeting, and I think
Oh.
that was like
The
kind of
Samsung.
roundabout of when.
So I think where we left the discussion was we were concerned about the shop truck. And the suggestion was made to take the plow off the truck that it was on, take the box out of it, put
Okay.
it with the dump truck,
Right?
which has happened.
Okay,
So my husband came in town and he helped Mendez move the plow to the front of the dump truck, move the sandbox to the back of the dump truck.
Okay.
Rick was there too.
The plow that he put on the dump truck was the one sitting outside.
Oh, was
He
sitting
didn't
outside?
take the plow off of the other one.
Oh, I misunderstood that.
So we have two plow trucks now.
Okay, so, I mean, he has that one he can drive around in right now. He could, we all discussed and agreed that he could take the plow off of that if he wants for a period of time. It's not as if he goes long distances. I understand it's a gas guzzler because it's a bigger truck.
right.
But it does have AC and heat. And they've been able to take and modify the dump truck to accommodate the sandbox. So they can use that in the dump truck, you know,
Okay,
that has a plow in the front.
okay.
So with that said, as we discussed at the last meeting, that, and I don't have that information with me right now, but there is one of those Kubota tractors that they felt would be, feasible for us, and essentially we'd be putting a half down payment on it with the money that we brought in from the other equipment. And only having to finance half of it.
We brought in that much money, sorry.
We brought in $24,000 on the other equipment.
Okay, cause my notes from last time, it was, one of them was 49,000 and the other one was 51,000.
Yeah, so it would be the $51,000 one. I'll have to go back and look at this, the name of it, but
It's a Kubota 75.
75, and Rick
Now,
also went down there.
The reason we discussed the 75 more than the smaller 60, whatever, was because the 60 series has just come out and the parts guy and the other parts guy said that they haven't worked all the bugs out of the 60 series yet.
Right.
So-
I remember that.
He suggested the 75 because it's been online longer and it's a little bigger box. I think that, in my personal opinion, I think it would behoove us to, you know, I mean, we basically sit on our hands and we don't improve our equipment any, and, you know, Mr. Mendez went down there and did the plows and things, and, you know, so we can get more things done within the town. You know, Mr. Mendez does a heck of a job 2 days a week. And, too bad we don't have him more, but that's his situation, so, you know, I just think it's something that, we wanna upgrade our equipment. Our backhoe was a piece of crap, our grader was a piece of junk, and our dump truck was a piece of junk.
Mhm.
And I mean,
So
for
glad
being
everything's
junk,
gone.
we got good money out of that stuff.
Yeah, a lot more, so
Oh,
much,
man.
yeah,
That blade,
So,
that blade went for over $1,000,
that second time, yeah.
and it was 300 the first shot, if you read your minutes.
right.
So, you know, it's something that I think we need to think about and start upgrading and taking care of business. So that, you know, if we need to go down and break ice, we can break ice. If we need to, whatever we need to do, we have the equipment to do it. And we don't have to call Josh's, brother up there with his. And let
Well, he'll
Josh
still be
break that
needing
load
it. He has-
backhoe up again.
Yeah, well, he has the expertise that we need for excavating, if we need
Yeah.
stuff excavated, so I always like.
And while we're on it, you guys may have discussed it, so if I'm beating a dead horse, just send me out of the room. Did we discuss with them lease versus purchase? Are we better to do 2-year leases, turn them in and get a new?
So they
with
were.
service contracts and stuff?
They discussed buying it outright, and one of the draws, for that, because he also got a cheaper price, the government, he gave him a lower government rate than what they had given you on the quote.
Yeah.
And the option to, any of the attachments are rentable.
Yeah.
So any job we come across, we don't have to buy attachments and keep them sitting there collecting dust. If something comes about that we need a particular attachment
And that
for,
was something I liked about them.
yes, that was a big draw
And
for them.
Sean
at the
that was
last
up there
meeting.
back then, he had said chances are, since it's with us, and if we let them, you know, use their name or whatever, they can use our name. Chances are a lot of those rentals could just come down as a no fee. And
Okay,
that was
Very
what
possible.
he had said then, whether that
Okay.
changes or not, I don't know, but
yeah, I don't, Rick had a conversation with him that.
Well, the
day.
good thing is most of the folks up there they had in school, so,
Yeah.
not all of them, but they're willing to work with us, which I think is a very positive thing, so.
So if you guys, I mean, if you wanna give me direction on that, I'll be glad to.
Well, yeah, I
Follow
just,
through
I
with
think
it.
we should come to some sort of resolution instead of kicking the
Right,
can down the road.
yeah, I agree.
We've been doing it for a
Yeah,
long time.
Yes.
we beat a dead horse a lot.
Well, I think those
You know,
the
first
big snowstorm
packets
might
that
be
you
right
gave
around the
us
corner.
was
Right.
November. And you know, we could have another
thought there was-
situation like we
was
did
it
maybe
September
in
because
October or
with
something
the
like
art
that.
option ended in September.
I couldn't even get off my cold whack then.
Yeah.
I got to the end of the privacy fences and went boom, boom, boom.
It did my car.
That's the only reason I brought it up. I think we need to, quit kicking the can down the road and make a decision, yes or no.
Yeah, that'd be one thing I'll.
So my question is, we get this, do we have an operator?
No,
Do they-
no, say that again.
Do we
If
have
we
a
get
operator?
this skid steer, do we have an operator?
Well, I think that our operator in charge would be Mr. Mendez.
I don't think he's inept in operating and I think he would
Well,
probably
the
need
good
a
thing
quick
is that
training
they
course
would come
on-
down and show us how, because it's all,
We all attend that
and-
in case any of us wind up.
it's
in-
all,
Right?
it's all hand operated. It's not, there's no pedals on the 75. So, you know,
It's just joysticks.
Selectable
Okay.
joysticks.
yeah, it's basically, you're right, 2 joysticks, so.
You guys don't want me
They're
driving.
easy to run.
Mhm.
Once you
I
get the
might
hang
run
of
into
it.
a car or something.
Would we finance
Gary, we're
that
well
through-
insured.
If we bought that, would we finance it through Farmer State or would we
I'd have
finance
to
it
talk to them and see what,
through
I'd have
Kubota?
to talk to their financing officers, unless you know something, Trevor, I don't.
Kubota would probably offer better finance.
Double check with Kubota, because sometimes they have a government lending.
I better say Trevor talked about that government program.
We got a huge discount on
So
that
they priced
with
it
that
through-
government
They
thing.
priced it
Yeah.
through Sourcewell.
It's like
Yeah.
a
Now-
$50,000.
There you go, Sourcewell.
Yeah.
So if we did that, I think there's a lending source with Sourcewell, if I remember right.
Yeah,
The one thing I guess, and you brought up a great point, and I didn't even think about this. You know, the one thing about a lease versus us owning it is then we got it in the budget as a fixed expense.
Mhm.
And if we got it locked in as a fixed expense for the next 5 years,
I didn't know if it affected
and this is the
the
only,
service contracts and stuff. That's what.
the
I
only
didn't know.
reason why that's intriguing to me is cause sometimes, not that I've looked at all the equipment down in the shop, but sometimes there's some things that aren't exactly kept up to par, or have been probably ahead of. We rotated it out after year 4, and it's no indication of the current situation, but sometimes past history kind of gives you pretty good foresight of what could happen. And so that would be something I'd be curious just to see. Honestly, if it made sense to lease it, say on a 4-year deal, the only thing is we don't really know how many hours we'll put on it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, load into it, it's not gonna be a high hour machine. It's
Well,
not-
that's why I say, I think we would stay under whatever their minimum is for what we use. I
I
would
feel
assume.
confident we would.
If we put on 150 hours a year, I'd be
That's why I
impressed.
say, I thought Sean said, and don't hold me to it, but if they had something to do with, in most of their lease terms, it was 300 hours a year max. And I thought, there's no way we run 300 hours a year on a machine.
Well, not unless,
So,
Not unless
Somebody
somebody's
took it.
joyriding around town on it.
yeah.
Well,
Where are
we'll
the
all be
keys?
intrigued.
Mm.
Well, I think that's a really good idea. Should we have Kim check into it?
I'll definitely
I
ask
guess
them.
I think it'd be
before
worth
I
it to see
drop
the
the hammer
difference.
on one, I wouldn't mind seeing the numbers,
Lease as
Just-
opposed to buying.
just so I could say, hey, we made the better, I mean, we looked at all.
And I would think, ask if it affects service contracts at all, anything like that, being a lease versus a purchase. I don't know that it does.
Some of those they could write them in.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll go,
So-
You know, talk
about
to
it
them.
tomorrow and
Yep.
get all the numbers.
So should we try to get that information and then everybody be able to see it at our next meeting so that we
Yeah,
can make
I
a
would think
confident
that's a good
decision?
idea.
And I
Yeah,
would
way
think-
done.
I just didn't wanna keep us kicking it down.
Right.
You came up with valid arguments here.
Here's the
Yeah.
other thing on that, sorry, is if we get those numbers back, say by end of next week. And if we have to come in quickly for a
Emergency.
Tuesday night session to figure this out, I think we should. The other thing,
Yeah, cause March and April's our snowiest month.
yeah, the other thing I like to throw out is the truck that we no longer use. That we remove it from our inventory soon.
Get it off insurance.
And
get
if
it off
you need
everything.
that in the form of a motion, I will make that motion now, that we remove that vehicle off of.
Did you get it on
What,
that auction site you did?
what else wrong
I
with it
don't
besides
know.
gear?
I can ask them. I mean,
Okay.
they've managed to get rid of rock we didn't think we can get rid of, so.
Maybe
Junk.
that free of charge, right?
Yeah, we didn't pay anything. The people buying paid the fees.
Facebook Marketplace, you could get 2,500, 3,000 out of the F-150.
I don't know, you guys.
That's rough.
So-
Hey,
Well,
wait now,
Marketplace is.
P.O.
No,
but used cars are up. I do that, day we went down to break ice, I could barely get up the hill into the shop, it was missing out so bad. It peel out, miss out, peel out, and I'm.
What year
I'm
is
like,
it again?
come on. Like 1923, 24.
Well,
It's the very
Vintage.
first model.
Yeah.
It's
it is
vintage.
not.
No.
Come on.
Don't
So-
listen to him.
It's like the eighth, to be.
Yeah, so what we're gonna do is we're going to, I'll figure out the difference between a lease and a purchase.
Service
And we'll get that
contracts.
information for the next meeting.
Okay.
And I would entertain a motion to allow Kim to put the old
So
F-150 on whatever auction she wants to put it on and get rid of it. Cause anything we get out of it's gonna be a plus.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this is true.
second.
we can put the money towards the gas budget of the other one. I mean, the good news is he doesn't go far.
He doesn't go.
So do we
far.
have a motion?
It's not.
Emotion.
We have a motion, do we have a second? With Josh second, Terry firsted.
Got it.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign.
Really quick, since we're talking about plowing and stuff, I think that Reese Company is doing a great job.
I've gotten a lot of positive feedback.
Yeah.
A
They're doing
lot.
great.
They are all over it. I mean,
They are.
Plowing.
No, he stinks up the joint.
does
No.
not.
How are we gonna take care of that back alley and the, roads around the park down here? Cause it's got potholes that'll.
So we
swallow-
can't touch those until, if we keep getting snow
I
and
know.
it's full of snow, we can't do anything with them until it's dry out.
It's frozen.
Are we gonna have a blade come in or are we gonna use this
We have a
new little
blade.
Kubota?
We have a little John Deere with a box scraper on it that does a great job.
Yeah.
It's
Well-
kinda like fixing a road with a rake, though.
Well,
Yeah.
as far
We'll
as,
have to have, we'll have
It may
to,
take a few loads of gravel. when it
yeah,
dries
that's
out
what
or
I'm
something.
thinking,
I mean,
cause I think
Yeah.
those big old holes down there by your salon
Oh
haven't
my-
been there
Those-
since I was in high school.
Those are
Right
not,
there at the
those
alley
are-
at the, oh my
those
God.
are,
I don't even go that way because I give myself a flash.
those are not town.
They're right behind the liquor store. I turned in to go to the office.
But
the other day,
somebody
my
did
truck was
fill
over.
them right next to the gas
I
station.
know.
yeah.
Those are,
Not-
if they're, it's
The
the
ones
ones.
right against the sidewalk that she's talking about. Right to this side of
No,
the,
she's talking, if you're going past Mona's and turning
talking
past
about the
Northern
alley.
Park to come down the alley all the
Yeah,
way to
I'm
town
talking
hall,
about
she's
the
talking about
dirt.
right there in that intersection by the tennis
Mhm.
courts.
Yeah.
now that's an alley, but those big
Right.
ones right beside the building are Mona's problem.
If they're on Mona's property, they're
Yeah.
Mona's problem, but if there are roadways or are alleyways,
Well, that,
then.
I know
yeah.
what
Straight
the
across
difference
the
is,
alley from the tennis
but I'm just
court.
saying those
There's
ones right
holes
by
all
the.
over that area,
I'm
okay?
not familiar with what's
Yeah.
closest to Mona's.
Same thing with Valley View.
Like if here's the corner where the salon is, there's a little sidewalk and they're all.
Yeah.
Sidewalk
right
down the
there.
side of the building.
Right beside,
Okay.
yeah. And that's where everybody pulls in and parks, and that's Mona's problem, cause it's not in the right of way, the road, it's not in the road, it's in the,
Right,
her side, so. But
I'm
the
talking-
alley behind
Yes.
is our
Where the
problem.
dirt is.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
right
that
there where
gets
the
really
park
nasty.
is.
Yeah,
That whole alley.
It's
That whole
Always been
alley is-
terrible,
is
and then
bad.
this has to wait until the
It's
snow
just been that
stops
way since I was in
flying.
high school, so, yeah.
And so we
Okay.
have a problem there, we have a problem in the alley right here, and we have a problem right there by the liquor store,
Mhm,
And at the
always.
school.
and at the school.
mhm.
and Ted state highway can fill some holes, and in 2 days they're out of
Yeah.
there, so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Especially
That
this time
way
of
when it
year.
dries out.
Okay, so moving on,
Quickly, I'll tell you what the biggest problem is with those. What causes that in those alleyways, in that particular place right there, is the big trucks making deliveries
Oh,
to the
yeah.
restaurants.
Mhm.
Yeah. sinking.
It's been a
Oh.
problem forever, but we can't have them stop on Highway 86 and unload off of a highway in
But-
front of the business.
wait,
For your, it's been a problem since I was a little kid. We didn't even have restaurants down there.
There you go.
I said high school in nineteen
We had
seventy-nine.
We had a grocery store, but
okay, Terry's turn, wait, Terry's turn.
I don't know if this goes under old business or discussion.
Uh,
We discussed this at one point before. Why is Tim Kraft still on the water board?
Ruth, do you want to enter this conversation?
So I was going to bring this up at the end of the meeting this evening because it came to my attention that we now have new members on the water board effective January 1st. And they've been doing this conflict of interest disclosures that we don't do as a matter of course in the town and the board of trustees. but it's recorded with what, the Department of Revenue,
No, the Secretary of State.
Secretary of State.
Before you go on, Ruth,
Yep.
do we need to discuss this in executive session or can we do it in open session?
Nope, because I made it aware in open meeting, the last meeting.
Okay, fire away then. I apologize for interrupting.
No problem. So it came to my attention that Tim Kraft has not submitted any conflict of interest forms with the Colorado Secretary of State for 26 times,
27.
27. And I don't know if everyone recalls when we were voiding the development agreement, the issues associated with his eligibility on the board. And that the entities that signed his eligibility are not a real entity filed with Colorado Secretary of State. And ultimately, the owner of the property, what we call Kiowa Creek Meadows, submitted a form to essentially make it retroactive that he was a valid member of KWW.
Ruth, he actually has not submitted that. He has
The-
not done anything to correct the situation.
Oh, I thought
would
we
if
saw
we
the
asked.
homeowner.
No, ma'am. He said he would if we asked him to, but no move has been made to correct that designation of representative.
Okay, so I stand corrected. That's even worse. So, the town of Kiowa has the authority when KWWA was established to appoint members of the KWWA. That's almost all the authority we have left. And we can discuss this in more detail under executive session. I just want to bring that to the town's attention that if we want to consider it, I need your direction to work on it and kind of paper trail where we are and where we've been with that issue. So that would be question one, if the town supports getting clarification on what our roles and responsibilities are, what's transpired with Mr. Kraft as a board member of KWWA, and if in fact he has violated some of the rules and regulations of being a member, or if he's even eligible, which I think that's the crux of the issue. And then, you know, the next issue that follows that is we decided as a town not to pursue the water well agreement and the water development agreement when we voided the development agreement. And there may be some basis for me going back and reviewing that, which will not take very much time or effort because I went to great lengths a year ago doing that. So I'm looking for direction on both of those matters.
I don't know how everybody else feels. He doesn't live in this town. He doesn't own property in this town. He doesn't have a business in this town. What is he doing sitting on our water board?
Let me give some clarification to what Terry's asking and what Ruth is saying, those of you that weren't at the last water meeting, okay? Of 27 meetings that the water attorneys have filed conflict of interest forms with the state, they have only filed them for 4 members, not to include Tim Kraft. 27 meetings, continuously arguing with them about why they need it. And not once has anybody divulged to me that Tim Kraft never submitted a conflict of interest form like the rest of the board has. There's no reasoning why he hasn't. There's no reasoning why his has not been filed with everybody else on that board. There's also been discussion, just so you're all aware. Tim Kraft tried to make a move for the water because he felt he found a loophole in the water rights transfer. And he was conferring with attorneys to try to get his hands on our water. Okay? So this isn't a minor thing. And Ruth has been quiet for a while now because you guys wanted her that way. You didn't want to discuss it. There was a lot of animosity over bringing it up. And these are the things that have transpired since Ruth has kept her mouth shut and has let it go. So you have decisions you've got to make. I don't care how they feel about him. He is a threat to your town. He is a threat to your water. I can't do anything with it without direction. She can't do anything without direction. So we can
Kim, I've
continue sitting on it
questioned this
being
even
quiet.
prior to tonight. I mean, ever since we got rid of the, development agreement, he shouldn't be on the board, just my opinion.
And they've got a water agreement right now in place that I was told to my face they plan on holding on to and keeping. If development comes back in here, if it's Tim Craft, they are hanging on to that water well agreement. And right now, as that water well agreement stands, it's as screwed up as your development agreement was. He does not have to pay one tap fee. One tap fee. You're talking $6.5 million in tap fees that they are telling him he doesn't have to pay.
Who's telling him?
It's in the water well agreement. That's
Yeah.
what they negotiated.
I'm sorry, I'm new. so I
So,
need-
oh, I
Yeah,
know.
you're good.
I'm just saying, yeah,
So-
absolutely.
You'll learn.
But we've got infrastructure that is breaking everywhere all over town because it's so old. And that's what those tap fees do. They pay to repair that infrastructure. They pay, to put in new development. If he put in new development tomorrow and we needed to put 500 homes in with 500 meters, if he's not paying a tap fee, the water authority's footing that bill for every one of those meters. He's not paying for the meters.
Well, say if digging needs to be done, then we need to do it. My point of view is when we all backed away and let off was when it was legally told that's what to do. So that's what we all said to do. Let's all back away. Let's let this fester out, blow up, blow away,
It's
whatever.
festering.
And now there's a new problem, a different problem that needs to be investigated. So it needs to be looked into.
What's it?
They just don't, I mean, I just think we need to move forward with the information that has come available to us, that's public record, filed with Colorado Secretary of State. And the fact that Mr. Kraft's eligibility on the board is at question. So
Well, I
if
mean-
the town would like me to investigate that, you just need to give me direction. And then with respect to, I mean, all the work's done on the water well agreement and, my legal opinion, my analysis, all of it, all that work's done. So it's easy to bring forward again and bring up for discussion that would occur in executive session and the eligibility probably will be considered in executive session and then we can move forward on the record.
I got
I-
a couple questions here.
I can't speak to, I'm not at liberty to speak to individual temperament on him.
On the water board.
Yeah,
I didn't know we had any right to dictate their board members.
we do.
Well, so that's
We
exactly.
approve them.
gonna be my-
We do have, that was written
So-
into the agreement from the USDA.
When do
they
we
did the
annually do
transfer.
that?
Well,
And
we
this
don't
is-
annually do
hold
it. We
on.
do it when they have elections.
And this is why,
Okay.
this is why I asked.
Oh, not elections.
So-
appointments.
In a sense, the water board is somewhat similar but different than the fair board. I mean, we are in a sense, we're a governing body, one part of Elbert County government for 8 days or whatever it is. But every year, we have to, as a fair board, we have to submit a report. And it has to be turned in by the end of December. Or by mid-December, that report has to be turned in. And then in the January meeting, they go and they approve all the reports, so they approve the planning commission board, they approve, fair board on down the line. So I think maybe, and I don't know what we gotta do on our end, but I think it would be in our best interest to figure out how to put that same deal that every year we reapprove all boards.
I
And
don't-
maybe we put it in our February meeting.
Well,
But this is why, because new officers are typically sworn in January. And then you go with the fair, or with the county, it's the month, or the meeting after the swearing in process, then they go through and they review those boards. We probably need to have that somewhere in our town charter, whatever,
We do.
for everybody,
So
with the date, with the annual, this is when that happens.
When you talk about a review, are you talking about compliance with the town charter or the code? For each one of those boards?
For the
Because,
board,
because our charter right now dictates, how our board is put in place. Their board is approved, so when we did the transfer from the town to the water authority, that document there, that put them in place dictated how their board was formed and dictated the fact that that's the one thing that keeps you guys connected. You guys give the approval of who they're asking to bring on their board. So that's really not something anybody can change because that was put in place by the federal government. Your board was, how you guys handle your board and construct your board is put in place by your charter. That can only be changed by ordinance. The planning commission, I believe, is by code. So that can be changed by ordinance. But we can't, it's kind of like our operating agreement. We can't, as a board for the town, we can't just change how we do business with them or set requirements for their board. Without them being part of that, without the federal government approving that, because in order for them to exist, these were the specifications that were put in place
okay,
for them.
so let me ask this question.
Okay.
And there's a couple, I mean, my God, a conflict of interest, $2,500 on the annual event is a conflict of interest
Mhm.
with a large development. Add a couple more commas and zeros, and how is that not a conflict of interest? One, how does this fall in line with what the government stipulations are? Two, and the only reason why I wanna know is if you go, well, here, right here on what the government stipulations are, it says you have to have X and we're not getting it, then and it's black and white like that, then fine. So where are, I guess, cause this was the first year I had the conflict of interest that we filled out.
Well, if
whatever
you remember,
was a
we
year
did it
ago.
because they did it, they started it, their attorney said,
Okay.
this is the way, that's something else too, their attorney said, all of a sudden,
This was
we should have
this-
been doing this from the very beginning, and we're talking like a decade, okay?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And, but we weren't. Okay, great, you weren't doing it. So I'm like, I went to Ruth, I'm like, Ruth, should we be doing this? If their attorney's saying that they should have been doing this for over a decade and they haven't been doing it and they're just now getting caught up and they're doing what they should be doing according to the state, and Ruth's like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I go to the county attorney, he has no idea what I'm talking about. I go to Elizabeth, they have no idea what I'm talking about. That's three entities that have no idea what I'm talking about as far as being under a requirement to file a conflict of interest form with the state.
Yep.
So we went ahead and did it because again, like these policies and these ordinances on ethics, it's good to have in place. It shows we're being proactive, that we're committed to good governance and we're committed to doing what's right for your town. So we did it and we put it on a file and we trust that when we're in a situation that each one of you will step up and say, I'm sorry, I can't make a vote because I have a conflict. You've done it already. That's what's put on you. And if we find out later on that you had a conflict that you didn't divulge, well, that's where that policy comes in place. And that's where Ruth starts stepping in. That is the guideline for why it was done. But it wasn't done correctly. They're in violation of their own.
So it's kind of hard for me to ask, because we probably don't know. But if that's the case and it's brought by their attorney, why is there no action on that? on their side?
That's an interesting question that's gone through my head many, many times. Many, many times because you get no answer from them,
From the board or from the attorney?
the attorney.
So let's start there.
I
As-
can't arbitrarily call their attorney and have a conversation with him. That's a charge to the board, to the water authority, and I can't do that on something that is of interest to you.
Say that again?
I cannot call their water attorney and ask questions about why they operate the way they do, or why he has not said anything about this lack of a conflict of interest form being filed on his part, because I am causing charges toward the water authority
Their attorney.
for
bills
your
them.
personal interest.
Their attorney bills them for our questions.
Oh, gotcha.
So can we have the water authority, do we have them, come in and account for everything that they're doing to us?
They're their own authority.
They're their authority.
That's the place we're in, and we're in that place because of people that came before you.
So,
Not me.
Terry
So
has.
I think we need to limit ultimately, we can have a joint work session. Again, I don't know how many of you recall how
Hmm.
contentious that meeting was, but probably will never forget that. In any event, so I'm not trying to seek more acrimony than there already is, but I believe that this is an issue that the town should visit and figure out what our roles and responsibilities and our authority is. And then we can go from there.
Terry's got one.
We need to get.
Go, Terry.
Based on the information we received today from Kim, based on the fact that he was put on the water board because he was representing special metro districts, which do not exist now because we no longer have that development agreement. I feel Ruth should check in to see how we get him off that board. My opinion only.
Well, it really is kind of easy because if you don't know, but the designation of representative form that should have been filled out. Say you don't live in town, okay, but somebody else does, and they don't want to serve on the board, but you have an interest in serving on the board. They can do a designation of representative where they're assigning you as their representative to serve on this board, okay? The owner of that property should have been the person that filled out that form, assigning that developer as the representative for them, not because he lives in town, but because he owns the property in the town. So you could own property or live in the town to qualify for a board
or on a business.
or own a business.
For the water
So,
board.
for the
Right.
water board. So that developer himself assigned one entity of his to be the designator of the other entity of his. At no point did the property owner fill that form out themselves. Now, they are willing to retroactively correct that form now
Yeah, that's like-
and turn it in, but it's not legal because you appointed him under the designation of representative form that was submitted already. So essentially, you would have to go back to the same process. Correct me if I'm wrong, Ruth. You would have to go through the same process and have to come back before you to approve a corrected form for him to stay on that board.
And Jim Digby already said that he would do that.
He already said he wants rid of that. Bad. So he's fine with doing the form again. But you still have to approve it the second time.
How,
Yeah, so he's sitting on the board pretty much illegally anyway.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
how did the water board approve him on the board without that form?
The form it wasn't paid attention to correctly. They just saw that he was being assigned as the representative. They didn't see who was assigning him. Didn't see it was a craft company LLC assigning another craft company.
Well, presumably the town did that. The town
What?
appointed him.
Say who all approved that? Was that something that went before
Yeah.
the board?
Well,
Never saw us.
It wasn't well, it did.
Yes,
came
it
before
did,
you guys.
because I
think it
voted
slipped
no
through.
that he shouldn't be on the board.
I think
I
it
felt it
slipped
was a
through.
conflict of
We approved
interest
it.
back then.
Yeah, you
I
did.
never,
Yeah.
Sure did.
So why is there not something that we can say, hey, this is not legal, therefore you have no right to be on this
That's what Ruth
board?
is saying, and she's asking for your guidance and for your direction
I say go for
to
it.
pursue that.
Yeah,
I
most
agree.
definitely.
And that's what I
Now,
said a minute ago. If it's something, Ruth, you think we need to get on top of and get tucked away, get at it.
Yep.
now is the only reason that we, like the treading lightly thing is just because our gap between the two boards are starting to mend better and we don't wanna ruffle feathers
That
type
was
of
the,
thing?
that was the thing at the moment. When we backed off, it was when we had finished talking about negotiating the operating agreement. Tensions were high already with that situation. And it was better to back off and let things cool down some.
Okay, so now I'm
But other
gonna
things
fire
have
it back
come
up,
about.
okay? So we had an agreement with Kraft and Company to do their thing. Water had an agreement. How do we get rid of that agreement that they think is so important to keep in place?
Ruth,
That's
Ruth?
that's what I want to bring back to you.
I have a question. Although it's
Wait a
not-
minute, I wanna hear an answer. What'd she say?
go ahead, Ruth.
That's what I want to bring back to you for discussion.
So.
So later on, you're gonna bring that back and talk about it.
At the next meeting,
Okay,
unless you want to
Question.
talk about it sooner.
question, Jonathan.
So my question is, although in our agenda for tonight is, there's no executive session in there, can we, upon new light of what's going on, can we go into executive session?
We
for-
can't.
No.
We have to push executive session prior to having the meeting.
Yep.
So people know that we're having an executive session and what we're having for is statutory law.
Well, and can we put something as far as the executive session coming sooner than our March meeting to discuss this and the equipment?
Legal advice.
We can
Yeah.
have,
Need
have-
executive session to adjust, do the equipment.
But
This is,
what
this
she-
is legally.
Hold on, what she's saying is, can we just set up a second meeting?
Oh, we
Yeah,
Till
could.
we
you-
cover the executive session and take care of the equipment. We do it on one night, one swoop.
I like that idea.
Correct.
Thank you.
I am
So
not
let's-
available any night next week. I've got training up in Golden,
So
so.
Tuesday night, the 27th. That gives you 2 weeks.
We'll do the 27th, and it's our community meeting.
Yeah.
I was thinking we do the 28th or 29th.
29th 's a virtual community.
Do it Monday then.
I'll just be honest, Mondays, mailman, I won't be here.
I'll be here.
On Mondays, I don't get done till after 7 PM.
I mean,
I got one for you, but I'll share it here.
I just,
So let's go Friday
We've got
then.
Wednesday and Friday
Friday, the,
I'll come Monday.
first.
I can't be here Friday. I'm sorry. I make plans on the days off, so I can't be here Friday.
well, what is the best day that everybody is mostly available?
So.
Pretty much
A
any time other
Wednesday?
than next week.
um,
I'm in training all
Wednesday, the
next week for
28th,
work.
so we'll have the fairground thing for the open house, community open house, the last one on 27th. 29th, we have a virtual one, so that leaves the 28th and the 26th for that week. If you guys wanna do that, on Monday or Wednesday,
I could get the
Or-
28th, I might be online, but I could.
then that first week of March. Hold on, let me confirm, I don't wanna give you a wrong misinformation.
I'm speaking for myself, but I would feel better patching stuff up, like as far as, the Tim Craft situation goes before our next meeting.
Yeah,
So we have that first week of March open. There's nothing the first week of March. So we can actually have a meeting the first week of March before our board meeting the next week.
Yeah.
Works for me. Terry,
that-
Can you do
that
Zoom,
works for
sir?
me.
I'm all right that first week of March.
everybody okay that first week of March?
Yeah, you wanna do it on Tuesday?
Yeah.
Or Monday?
Monday through Thursday at all, Trevor?
Josh, what do you got?
I'm open, like I said, Mondays would just be, I'd be tight to even make a 7.
Okay, that
Beyond
first
that,
Tuesday
whatever.
of March.
The second?
Or you just
Seven.
have-
So we could
Or-
do,
oh, sorry, I wanted-
Zoom too, Josh and Trevor, if that helps you
I
guys.
just maybe sit alongside Weedemeyer at that point. That's what I'm saying. It's me getting back in from 30 miles up that
Oh,
way.
okay. Okay.
That's my issue. And it may be a light day. I call you at 3 and say, hey, I'm done.
You don't know.
Mondays are just my crap.
Are you
day.
guys
I think we're
okay for
talking about the
Tuesdays?
fifth,
Tuesday.
a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Sounds like
Tuesday
everybody.
we're
can do
fine.
Tuesdays are, I mean, Mondays suck for me, work.
I think this is important enough that this is serious important.
So should we plan
And so-
7 o'clock on the 5th?
I
But
just need to be old and retired. Sure,
To what?
Make a motion?
I'll figure out which state I'm in.
March fifth, 7 o'clock.
That works.
I'm
Make
okay
it
with that.
a-
Jonathan,
Yes.
okay with me?
Well, that's our usual meeting, right? Oh, no, our usual is the 12th.
Just a second.
So
7
hopefully
PM,
stuff up.
March.
So you got, till the 5th to get all the ducks lined up on this.
Okay,
And then I just said throw in the equipment thing, like what Trevor said, so that we can.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Rick was
Get it
just
done.
explaining it. I think you thought it all need to be under executive session, but it doesn't.
That's what I heard.
We would just have we call it so anything outside of the regular, monthly meeting is called a special meeting. So we would just put that on like a regular agenda item, equipment, and then have an executive session for the rest of it, yeah.
Make,
We just have to make sure that executive sessions have to be noticed 24 hours in advance.
Yeah, I didn't know that. That's why.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's important. No, with the circumstances of that executive session,
I hate putting it out so far. to
do we
be
need
honest.
help? Do we need help? Representative or the attorney for the water board president?
I would, no. Cause it's not a negotiation with them. It has nothing to do with. Do they
If
agree
just
with
Can't
it?
be we can let you.
He's
discuss
aware of the
halfway.
situation and has been since he's been on the board, but he's chosen to take a stance and not do anything about it. you know? And that's why Ruth wants to talk to you guys.
See, that's when it becomes an issue for me. Once you know it's a problem and you choose not to comply, now you probably.
Yeah, sure.
I think we should take that step as a collective to face it and say, you know, we're not okay with you trying to take our water.
Yeah.
So we're doing.
Remember our first meeting, Bailey?
What?
Remember our first meeting?
Is there
I try to forget.
Ruth, did you have anything else you wanted?
anything else, Ruth?
To say
no,
with,
not at this time.
are you
Okay.
good with that March 5th, Ruth, at 7 o'clock?
That works. It's fine.
Okay,
Okay. Any communication?
no.
Motion to adjourn.
So
Second?
No, hey, we didn't do the town code.
Do
Yeah,
what?
we
So
did.
moved.
Yeah, we did.
We moved it.
Yeah, I think so.
You just spoke of the update.
Oh, the code update stuff that she sent you guys.
Oh,
So Ruth really, so the only feedback I've gotten so far is from Terry. I really need you guys to look at that, give feedback to that, because Ruth would like to come to the next meeting with ordinances in place to put what you're reviewing now in place, and then we'll send you the second. This is gonna be in 3 parts. So she wants to send you the second part to start reviewing. That's why you need to get through this part. Do what?
What part of them on March
Some
5th?
mini series, 3-part mini series. That is separate from the code updates.
Are we allowed
It's an email.
to
I didn't get my.
talk
email.
with each other about, like,
Can you all go down to Patty Ann's and sit at a table together and have
No.
coffee? No, ma'am, you cannot. You can have a discussion with Trevor.
It'll be quick while you cut my hair.
Yep. You two can talk, you two can talk, but you cannot talk more than.
right, okay, just making sure. I mean, I'll be honest, when I opened it up, first thing I saw highlighted was the adult stuff, and I'm like, what am I reading?
Oh, well, that's in our code. So,
I was very taken back at first, like, I'm sorry, what is
Yeah.
going on?
and just keep in mind, that was put in place a long time ago, so that was in consideration a long time ago before we were even part of
You-
this town.
You have to have that code provision, or it opens up the door constitutionally for somebody to come and apply for a sexually oriented business.
And we still have.
It's
the
kind of
right
like our
to
Airbnbs.
say-
If people have Airbnbs right now, we can't do anything about it because we have nothing in place keeping them from doing it.
Right.
So it's
Yeah.
the same concept.
Anything else from the board? All those in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
Alright,
Who
Opposed,
was
same
my
sign.
second? Who was
Think we
my
did it
second
at
to
the same time.
attorney?
Yeah,
Terry was first, so you're second.
I'll be the second.
Okay. All right.
I won't be able to be at the planning commission meeting next week. I'll be in